is what God wants to leave in your mind today and in your mouth today, that Christ for the church could come at any moment. The Bible teaches that. But as we look to our study this morning, we see something extremely powerful. He speaks to us about another prophetic event that excludes the rapture, but it is in fact the second coming. It's amazing to realize as Jesus speaks to the disciples in John 14 to leave that beautiful sense in their hearts, we come now to the portion of Luke 21. And if you're a note taker, if you're a Bible student today, write this down. This is the famous Olivet Discourse of Jesus Christ. You say, what are the Mount of Olives there in Jerusalem by Jesus? Check it out. It is his last public sermon or teaching he will ever give until he comes again. It is the last final word. He leaves with the believer good news. He leaves with the non-believer bad news. The second coming of Christ, not the rapture, the second coming of Christ is a tremendous event, and Jesus is going to be speaking about it. Scholars have rightfully said that the Olivet Discourse is Jesus' farewell address. That's a powerful way to look at it. So I'm going to give you one more thing, and we know in verses 5, Jesus delivers 4 different segments in the Olivet Discourse. Jesus had 4 parts to the Olivet Discourse message. So we will take it in 4 weeks as well, because each chunk is extremely vitally important for a specific purpose. Are you guys with me? Okay, here we go then. Luke chapter 21, beginning now in verse 5, is where we left off last week. Then, as some spoke of the temple, how it was adorned with beautiful stones and donations, he said, Jesus, verse 6, these things which you see, the days will come in which not one stone will be left upon another that shall not be thrown down. And so they asked him, saying, Teacher, but when will these things be? And what will be the sign? Will there be, and when will these things are about to take place? And he said, take heed that you are not deceived. For many will come in my name, saying, I am, and the time is drawn near. Therefore, do not go after them. For when they hear wars and commotions, that word means rumors or arguments of war, not only wars, but rumors of wars, commotions, do not be terrified, for these things must come to pass first, but the end will not come immediately. And so as we look to this morning, we're looking at that section today. That's part 1. Church, mark it down. Point number 1 is our only point for the entire day. It is this. What you and I should know about the real Jesus Christ is this. Number 1, he expects you and I to know what time it is. Every believer is to be very diligent to discern the times and the age in which we live in. That's why I mentioned about the clouds this morning. I don't know if you were up early this morning, but very early this morning it was crystal clear. And then as the morning began to come on, these dark clouds began to come out of the south, out of the east. And we had an unusual California morning. In fact, this morning is very, very much like a Hawaiian morning. It's balmy, it's cloudy, and as you look at this, you say, my goodness, what's going on today? Something's changing. And the sky began to turn pink and red as the sun began to rise. And the Bible speaks to us about that. I thank God for painting us a picture this morning that as believers, we're to be able to look outside our world and say something's changing. And something is changing. We are 2,000 years removed from the moment Christ gave this teaching. And listen, church, before you fall asleep, I got to tell you something. This is very critical. This is very, very important. You and I are living at a time when people are falling asleep spiritually, and you are being tempted to fall asleep spiritually. You and I are being tempted to give up on our Bible reading. You always mention Bible reading. Why do you keep bringing that up? Because that's how we stay alive. It's bread. It's water. It's what we have to have. And if we begin to lay it off to the side, listen, you guys have all fasted before at length. You know what it's like. After a while, you're not so hungry anymore, are you? After a while, you've been fasting for a while, you're not so hungry. You begin to learn how to live without food. And it's a dangerous time when a church begins or a believer begins to live without the Bible. That's a dangerous time. You are, in fact, beginning to starve. And Jesus warns us. We need to know the Bible like never before. And it's the Bible in our hearts that's going to be able to cause us to discern these things that are going on in the world around us. If we do not do that, we will simply just kind of slide through this age. We will be out of touch, out of tune. We're wondering why our Christianity is so boring. We're going to wonder why things are so dead in my private life. And you'll also be looking around at other people wondering, why are they advancing with Christ? The truth of the matter is, my friend, we're flirting with too much things of this world, and we will become apathetic. Jesus wants you and I to be knowing the time in which we live in. And so as we look to this, look at verses 5 and 6. He makes this announcement. He makes this statement, and it is awesome. He says, as some of their... The days will come in which not one stone will be left upon another that shall not be thrown down. This is absolutely radical. So mark it down. Verses 5 and 6, this is what we learn. God expects his people then, and he expects his people now to know what time it is, and this is what he's stressing. It's time for you and I to know our history. I'm not talking about American history. I'm not even talking about world history exactly. I'm talking about biblical history, what's revealed in the Bible. Listen, can we agree on this fact? There is no longer, from what we've been taught in most recent times, there's now no longer this view that time is a constant. If you're 50 years of age, as I am, or I guess I'm older than that now. What's cool about being 50 is that you forget how old you are now, and then, no matter how many people I meet, if I meet the same people, it's like meeting new people every week, because you just forget all the time. It's pretty spectacular. I'm meeting all kinds of new people, even though I've known you for 20 years. It's amazing. But listen, when I was in school, we were taught that a constant in our universe is time. That time is a constant. And time is connected to light. And we know that light travels at 186,000 plus miles per second. And then as scientists got smarter, they concluded, wait a minute, light is a physical property of this universe. That led them to study light more carefully. Found out that light is slowing down. Did you know that light is running out of gas? Light is slowing down. Scientists have to deal with this. Interesting thing. Time is running out. And for all of us, time plays a game with us. When you're very young, time seems to drag on forever. Do you remember when you were in school and you were young? The school year seemed to just drag on out forever. One school year took about 5 years. Remember that? And then summertime came, and summertime, which was, 3 months back in those days, seemed about a few weeks. Have you noticed that whenever you're suffering, time seems to drag on? And yet in that context, time doesn't change. The perspective changes. People will say, time sure flies when you're having fun. The perspective changes. And Jesus is speaking to the disciples and to us today that our perspective needs to change about the time and the age in which we live in. I know that we are suffering under financial collapse in America, and we've all suffered, some greater than others, but we're all suffering, and we all shall suffer. All these things that are taking place, the market is still going to be going through some great turmoil. Listen, what is your perspective? Can you agree with me that because God controls all things, that time is not in control, life is not in control, God is in control. And the issues that are taking place around us, only the Christian can say, Lord, thank you so much for being in control of this world and my life, even in the midst of all of the difficulties that are taking place. God, thank you for the time in which you've allowed me to be alive.
You're listening to Real Life with Pastor Jack Hibbs. To hear more episodes and maybe catch up in the series, just go to jackhibbs.com. That's jackhibbs.com. And for now, let's get back to our